You know what time it is, Casey. Oh, the intro horns. The horns that sound when it's time for us to talk about fist fights, because they are nigh. They are upon us, the biggest weekend in combat sports. I mean, this month, certainly. I don't know if it's the whole summer. Hello, everybody. I'm Jed K. Meshew. MMAfighting.com. It's a great website, but you know that already because you're here. And it's the pre-fight Q&A for the doubleheader. Jake Paul, Nate Diaz, and of course, UFC Nashville. Joining me, as always, 30 minutes before fights, Casey Leydon. Casey, how we doing? Oh, rocking a Spence Crawford shirt, Casey.
Boom.
Sending a message to the boxing community as we prepare for UFC Nashville and other shenanigans. Casey, temp check. We talked about it yesterday on the preview show. Did any of the other stuff, the ceremonial weigh-ins, has any of it upped your level of enthusiasm for Paul Diaz and I guess UFC Nashville, though nothing really has happened on that sort of side of things?
Yeah, apparently there's a UFC card in Nashville. That's people
So
are
I
telling
hear.
me. People are telling me. I can't confirm it. Can't confirm
I can.
it, but
Confirmed.
we have confirmation. Okay, there is a
Confirmation.
card. There is a UFC card in Nashville. Okay, we're MMA Fighting, great website. We are confirming that. So
Reported here first.
you heard
12
it here
fights.
first.
12 fights originally reported by MMAfighting.com.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm very much looking forward to the top 2 fights on that UFC card, and I've kind of been the same hype level for the Paul Diaz all week. I know you've been kind of poo-pooing the promotion of it. While I will acknowledge the promotion for this fight hasn't really. It's been below expectations, but I am still excited for the fight because I know when I see those two guys walk out in the first round, at least it's gonna be cool to watch. I don't know. It might get boring real fast, or it might get like man, be careful what you ask for type of thing. But seeing Nate box Jake Shields, why do I keep saying Jake Shields? Jake Paul. It's just a weird thing, and it's gonna happen. And I'm excited about it. Actually,
It certainly seems like it's going to happen.
And it doesn't mean anything. That's the thing. It from a sporting boxing perspective, rankings or whatever. This is just high. I don't know. I don't say high level, but I guess high level influencer boxing. I don't know what you want to call it, but this is
probably is that. It is probably high level influencer boxing.
Yeah.
So, look, if this is your cup of tea, I'm not here to yuck your yum, man. If people out there into it, good for them.
Like Cory Sandhagen and Rob Font, that's sporting. That's mixed martial arts, a sport. This boxing event is entertainment. If I don't want to see I don't want to see Spence Crawford. I want to see Jake Paul versus Nate Diaz. And you know what I'm trying to say? Like, I'm not trying to. Yeah, it's two different things. Like, it's almost like you go see your nice art house film, and then you go see Fast and Furious.
Meg 2. Look, again, if you're into this, that's totally fine. This one just isn't hitting for me for whatever reason. I will say the ceremonials did at least nudge it very slightly, just in the fact that Nate is bigger than I thought. Like, he's not smaller than Jake Paul, which has certainly been part of the narrative coming into this. And I do think all the other parts of it are true. Like, he is older, he is slower, he's not as powerful. But, for a guy who once fought at 155, Nate's never doing that again. So,
No.
That makes it a little bit more competitive. Still, they've done nothing to really push me over the edge. But here's the good news, Casey. They don't need to get me because they are apparently doing very well. Sold out at this point for the arena, which isn't like super surprising, but still selling out the American Airlines Center is no joke. I am sure it's going to do well on pay-per-view. I still don't know what the pay-per-view price is. I should probably figure that out, huh? What is $59.99?
It's cheaper than a UFC pay-per-view.
It's cheaper than a UFC pay-per-view. That's certainly. Apparently, I also have to watch SummerSlam tonight. How much do I have to pay for that?
It's on the Peacock network. So if you have
Oh,
Peacock,
that's not like a pay-per-view. I just have to have Peacock. Okay, that'll be
yep,
easier then.
I'm pretty sure.
Because
I'm pretty sure. Yeah,
there's also
I
more
actually,
combat stuff
yeah, I
happening
actually do plan
apparently
to
with
watch
the.
on. I do plan to find out and watch Rhonda versus Shayna tonight. That actually is a wrestling match I have been looking forward to for quite some time. I don't know how good it will be, but I'm excited for it actually.
Why are they wrestling each other? Are they not
Because
friends?
they used to be friends, no longer.
Yes, I'm.
No
Oh,
longer.
okay.
I haven't been following all the storyline, but it's essentially the real life storyline. You know, like Shayna's been doing this longer. You know, she was in MMA before Rhonda was. She was I don't know if she's a champion, but whatever. But she went to pro
She's worse
wrestling
at it
before.
than
Yeah,
Rhonda.
yeah, yeah.
Is
She
she?
went. She,
I don't know. I
she went
just
to
got
pro
the tap
wrestling
on the
before
shoulder.
Ronda. Yeah, she went to pro wrestling before Ronda. Shayna worked her ways through the indie circuit to get to the big show. Ronda just kind of got her red carpet type of entrance to WWE. So they're playing on that. So it's good. I'm
Okay.
sure this is Ronda. The storyline's there. Yeah,
Well, I guess I'll find out.
yeah.
I got told today that I will be watching in case something notable happens. So thank you for cluing me in. But this isn't about me, and it's certainly not about pro wrestling. It's about you guys. It's about the fans, Casey. We got 20 some odd minutes until the fight's, probably a little longer than that
A
because
little
we
longer.
haven't had anything fall out this week. So probably get like a pretty normal start time, and here it goes. So what do we got, Casey? What do the peeps want to
All
know
right.
about?
Do. All right. Sorry, I had questions. I bet I lost them.
JN, how many Meshew stars for the Jake Paul card? It's probably a 1 star. Like if I was in Dallas, I would probably go just for the spectacle of it, just for the scene of it. It is an event. Like this is going to be the combat sports event of certainly the month, like, right, like this will be the thing people will be talking about. You get this conversation from casual sports observers. It's going to be on ESPN and stuff, so I'd probably go just to say I did it, but in my heart it gets no stars.
I was at the Jake Paul versus Woodley and Jake Paul versus Anderson Silva fights, and man, I gotta say though, when that walkout starts for the main event, it it feels big. It feels big, and that's all. I think that's all you can really ask for.
Yeah.
Honestly, it just feels big. It feels like, oh, this is where I'm supposed to be. This is like, if you're a sports fan, this is where you want to be, and it has that feeling. And yeah, I don't know. That's all you can ask for, I think.
If they can do that, then that's a win. I didn't get that experience. I went to Paul Ben Askren, but that was peak COVID. And so we were just like five of us in media row, which were sitting literally like 500 yards from the ring, basically. And there were just like a couple of people in there. It was in the big arena, but so it wasn't that scene. So I would definitely go just to get the vibes of a Jake Paul fight proper. But again, like this isn't, if we're just talking on the merits, no. So it would be a 0 star for me.
Hey, but Meshew, do we agree that Meshew is where
I
number
think
one?
Meshew is the correct answer.
Yeah. Okay.
There were number thrown out. I think that's where we're going to settle in.
All right.
Joey Bosa, would any form of victory for Tatiana Suarez, even a decision, net her a title shot at women's strawweight? Casey, what do you think about this? Do you think just a dub for Suarez gets her a title shot? 115 is a bit
I hope.
interesting,
I hope.
kind of
I
crowded.
I hope not actually, and not because of Suarez, because of another fighter. I forgot her first name, Jan.
Yan
Yeah,
Xiaonan.
Jan Janan. I think if Suarez wins by any way tonight, either she sits and waits for Jan to get a title shot, or the UFC books Jan versus Suarez. But I have a feeling they're gonna is Weili versus
It's in
who's
2 weeks.
Okay, Weili and
Millie is
Limos, yeah.
fighting Amanda Lemos at
Yeah.
292.
So I think I think the UFC is waiting on that fight. So I'm assuming if Weili wins, they're going to pretty much immediately book Weili versus Yan. So have Chinese on Chinese violence, and probably they'll try to set that up in somewhere in China or Asia at least. And if Limosh wins, Suarez might get a title shot actually, because I'm pretty confident the UFC, from the making money perspective, Amanda Limosh isn't as marketable as
So,
basically anyone else. Sorry.
no. That's just
Yeah,
facts.
that's nothing. That's just that's how the UFC thinks.
Yeah,
Just
and that's just who meant very quality fighter, but just sort of is what it is. I was a bit surprised how sort of this Limoges fight came together because I kind of thought Jan would just
it
get
felt like
there.
Jan. Yeah,
I thought they would do that, but I think the timing probably was the marker here. My best guess is that Suarez, like you said, just is forced to sit and wait for a title shot. If, because she's been so inactive, she gets this win. In the UFC's ranking, she is only number 10. Jessica Andrade is 5, though. So if she beats Andrade by hook or by crook, she's probably going to take that spot. My guess is she won't jump Yan unless she does something spectacular, just because the marketability of a China card with Yan versus Wiley is that sells itself basically. And so she will either be in a position where she's stuck waiting, but I would think it's probably a little more likely that she gets booked against somebody in a number one contenders match. Maybe a rematch with Carla Esparza. Don't really know. Is Carla booked? I don't know what Carla's doing
baby.
right
She's on
now.
baby time right now.
Baby. Oh,
Yeah,
she's on baby time.
I'm not sure if she's had her kid yet or she's just way preggo. I'm not sure yet actually, but
Uh,
she's out for a bit.
that's what we need Mike Heck for. Uh,
Yeah,
actually, probably what happens is we'll probably get Verna Jandiroba maybe.
oh,
I know they were
that
originally
was
booked.
yeah, that was the
They
original
were
matchup.
originally booked for this, and so if Suarez is having to sit out, I don't know how long Jandiroba is forced out with the injury, but wouldn't shock me if they say let's target Jandiroba versus Suarez for a number one contenders bout on the Wiley versus Jan fight card, whenever that ends up being, because
Yeah,
probably won't even be this year. So yeah, I don't. I think by hook or by crook, however she gets it done, she is either a win away or a long wait away. Regardless, I don't
yeah,
think she's fighting for the belt by the end of the year.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, especially if Whaley wins. If Limosh wins, who knows? Actually,
Maybe if Limoges wins, maybe, and if Suarez really just dummies Jessica Andrade in a remarkable fashion and cuts like an incredible promo, maybe. But I think we are. I think most signs point to a UFC China event early next year.
which would be that'd be pretty freaking awesome to be honest. I
It'd be
mean,
dope. It'd be incredibly dope.
yeah, I mean, because it's a legit matchup. It wasn't like they kind of just created it, because they needed a main event. This is actually how the stars aligned, and it makes sense. So
Yep.
hopefully it happens.
It'd be very, very cool. JN, is the UFC card weak? Feel it's a great Apex card, kind of meh for a non-Apex card. Yeah, I know the main event got switched up, but still. No, this is, I mean, weak is a relative term. So, I mean, starting there, this would be a spectacular Apex card. You aren't getting Apex cards that are this good, just straight up.
Uh,
And you know this because it's a one-star Meshewian card. Like it got us, it has a star, so it's quality. It is a little low on name value. Like that is certainly true. So if that's your kind of critique of it, it's hard to argue that. But I think you have enough, and more importantly, the fights are all meaningful and good, not just fun matchups, but most of them are fun matchups between people on the rise or trying to do stuff like in their respective divisions, and not just here 12 contender series guys spinning their wheels because we got to give fights and
yeah,
paychecks. So I'm not saying it's like the best road show. I don't even know what to call non-Apex cards anymore.
yeah,
But I think that this should be your expectation moving forward for what non-Apex cards look like. There's a pretty clear stratification of pay-per-views, Apex, and then here in the middle is where we're going to get those Nashville, Kansas City, San Diego, wherever they take an event on the road to.
Yeah, I'm gonna be kind of positive and say this is actually, I think, a good fight night card, especially the
It
top
is.
two fights. Considering, I mean, we've had Apex cards where they're literally one ranked fighter out of like 12 fights. We have the top two fights are four top 10 fighters. As far as ranked top 10, she's top 10, right? Oh no, she hasn't fought strawweights
She's
yet,
number 10 in the UFC strawweight rankings.
even though she hasn't fought strawweight in a long
Yeah,
while. But
yeah.
yeah,
We
she's a
all
top
we all
10. Yeah,
know what that was.
we all know. We all
We
know.
all know that fight was a strawweight fight that they just didn't have to make weight on.
Yeah, yeah. So I like this fight a lot. Considering, no, I like this card a lot. But man, actually, what I want to talk about, I
This
watched.
card is as good or better than the Jacksonville card like 4 weeks ago or
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah,
By literally any definition
yeah,
that you want to take on it. So it's a perfectly fine fight card.
yeah. What I thought was interesting, real quick, I was watching the weigh-ins for Sandhagen Font, and then I saw the weigh-ins for Jake Paul and Nate Diaz. It is just wild how just, I mean, we kind of know it, but just how boring UFC kind of promotional events are. Ceremonial weigh-ins are strictly for promotion. There's no, they're just so people get interested in the fight. The official weigh-ins are already done. This is just for show. And the UFC ceremonial weigh-ins, which is in front of a crowd and everything, Dana White was there. It was just kind of boring. I don't know, because I kind of watched it right after the Jake Paul Nate Diaz weigh-ins. I don't know. I was kind of bummed, like, because it's like that's Cory Sandhagen, that's Rob Font. These guys are really good. There was just no excitement. It was just, I don't know. It was just odd. Um, it's
They're
just a word
very
we live in.
weird.
Yeah,
Yeah, it is what it is. I mean, I'm sort of closer to the idea of why even have them. Like ceremonial weigh-ins don't do anything. We already did the weigh-in. So certainly there's no need to do it if you're not going to use it as a promotional, leverage point.
that's what I mean. Yeah,
And the
just
UFC is not going to do that except for pay-per-views, the big ones. They might get Rogan on the mic and do something, but for a fight night card, it's just part of it's the rigmarole. It is what it is. This is just sort of how things go, and I'm not even that sad about this particular aspect of it
yeah.
because whatever. At this point,
I guess
I'm fine.
not really a sad thing. It was just more of an observation, more like, well, because like you just felt the energy in the Jake Paul thing. We had the MMA hour set there. They were Jake Paul screaming in the mic. Nate Diaz is doing his thing. Everyone's kind of doing the greatest hits in a way. Um, I don't know. It was just in the UFC. It was just Cory Sandhagen. Like I don't know. It's like I want more from the UFC. That's all. I think we kind of go back to was it UFC 290 where like we were just so excited because like, oh, this is what the UFC can be when they want to be, but they only want to be for just a couple of nights a year. It feels like after that it's just
Yeah.
all right. Let's just throw them out there and just people will show up anyway.
They at least pretend to want to be it for the pay-per-views. But they only really try to be it a couple of times a year. And that's you got to pick your spots. That's fine. I would love to hear from people like in Nashville or on the ground if that was a meaningful differentiator for their experience going to the ceremonial weigh-ins. Having that part of the thing happen, or if it doesn't mean anything at all. Because if it doesn't, for like a vast majority of fans, even in the market, then really we should just get away with it. Like what? Like why even do it? It doesn't matter. So, you know what I want, Casey? I want us to go old school. I want them to do the face-offs at weigh-ins. I don't want it to be here's a 2 hour window. You got to make weight. It's hey, we're doing weigh-ins. X people get on the scale X time in front of a crowd, drained out, and then you're gonna do a face-off when you're about to pass out because you're dehydrated. Do it like we used to do it, Casey. Bring back one weigh-in and no ceremonial and early morning one.
You know what?
Please tell me you have a comment of someone saying that. What do
Well,
we got next, Casey?
we might have a special guest coming in, so I'm trying to
Oh my
working on it. Yeah.
goodness. Oh my goodness. A special guest coming in. Uh who would this be? Also,
Yeah.
there's a fly in my room that is driving me insane. He is
Uh,
committed to getting in front of my face right now.
Uh, all right, let's talk about this.
Rolo Tomasi, are we all in agreement that if Nate beats Jake, he's re-signing, not resigning? Re-signing and resigning are spelled differently, guys. He is re-signing with the UFC and fighting McGregor. Feel bad for poor Chandler. First of all, never feel bad for Michael Chandler. There's just no reason to. Second, I don't think we're all in agreement. I think that is certainly a possibility, a very real, very possible thing that could happen next. But if Nate beats Jake, I feel like maybe it was Ariel who said this. If not, somebody else has. This has certainly been mentioned by a couple of people this week, and I think there's legs to it. Nate beats Jake. Logan Paul is sitting right there for another fight of this magnitude. They almost got booked to face each other before. Logan Paul would be a bag of money and a sellable fight. In the same way this is sellable. And again, probably a way better business venture than going back to the UFC uh, because he can always fight Connor. The Connor fight sort of exists in perpetuity. Being said, ultimately he's going to go back to the UFC. I think he's been pretty clear about saying that basically from the minute he left the UFC, even to this week, saying, I miss the UFC. Like there are
Do
parts of the UFC I didn't recognize enough. So I think he will eventually go back there and sort of finish his fight career there, unless opportunities for a bunch of money just keep showing up outside of the UFC doors. And I don't know how long that runs. He beats Jake, he fights Logan. He could probably find other fights, but at some point that feels like the juice is going to run out there. But that's just me, Casey. What do you think?
I, this is like kind of the big thing, the big story of the week for me is Nate being very just yeah. I want to go back to UFC. Is he just playing? Is he just playing smart business right now? Kind of like when Derek Lewis was asked, well, I hope I sign up to UFC, but we'll kind of see what happens. They don't want. He basically didn't say, "Hey, PFL, send me a contract." He's not. Is is Nate just kind of just playing it smart publicly right now? Of that, does he
Could
really
be.
want to go back to the UFC? Like,
He could
because
be, but I also think that like, yeah, probably to some extent, probably because the I think somebody pointed this out, and I forget who. It might have been Mike, might have been somebody else. Was like, uh, Nate. I think one of the easiest explanations for why Nate has been so disinterested this week is that this is just a whole different bag of working with people, and I have nothing bad to say about the MVP people and Jake Paul because I don't know them, but given a lot of the other circumstances around this, having people like the better dude at stuff, it's easy for me to imagine that this comes off as a less professional, less well-oiled machine than the UFC does promotionally. Because for the many issues I have with the UFC, they are exceptionally good at the B to B to C part of their business. Like I've never been to an event that was shoddily organized or managed. Like they are really, really good at that part of it. And so if you're Nate, I could absolutely see him coming into this, which is certainly going to be lesser. To what extent, I can't say. And being like, man, it was pretty nice to know that I wasn't going to get asked questions by the better dude trying to fist fight me or like stuff like that. And everything would work, like it'd be all on time, et cetera. And I wouldn't have to deal with a lot of this other nonsense. I knew
you know,
what I was getting into the whole way.
let's find out about that nonsense from the man himself.
Oh, look at that.
Hi
Mike
guys, how we doing?
in a resplendent sport coat. Look at that, man.
I mean, I cut my hair. I got nice shoes on. I feel like a couple Billy right now. I feel like I get Jake Paul's bank account right now. I'm just feeling that fresh on this
I
Saturday
mean,
night. How we doing,
you,
fellas?
we're doing great. We're talking about Nate Diaz, Jake Paul, and some UFC Nashville stuff. How is it on the ground there? Like, what are the vibes as we start counting down to D-Day?
People are freaking fired up for this, man. It's 1,000,000 degrees out, but even at the hotel that I'm staying at, the amount of people that were in line just to check in so they could drop their crap off to get to the fight, the line was like out the building. And I saw like a lot of Diaz's team is saying that. Like I ran into Gilbert Melendez in the hotel that I'm staying at, but the place is hopping right now. Like Dallas is ready for this fight. I didn't know if we would get to this point, but we got here. And I don't know if it was the shenanigans at the press conference. I don't know if it was what happened yesterday at the ceremonial weigh-ins, but the vibes are very high, and people are very excited for this fight tonight. I'm kind of stunned that they're this excited.
Are you that excited, Mike? Are you jumping out of your seat? Are you champing at the bit to get things going tonight?
Yeah, but I mean, mostly just so I can like go home and see my family tomorrow. Honestly, like this has just been a wild week. This is not a UFC, and I heard you talk about like the UFC and them being like a well-oiled machine with everything. It's a little different here, but with more experience and more time, things will get a little easier. But I'm about as intrigued with this fight as I possibly could be. I couldn't be any more intrigued by it. I didn't think I would get to that point. I'm not where like New York Rick was at the beginning. I think New York Rick went from a 10 to a 12 to a 15.
Yeah, very aggressive from New York Rick.
I went from like a 6.5. Now I'm probably like in the low to mid 9s. Like I am intrigued because I honestly, I think you're right, Jed. Your prediction with like we're gonna have like just a tepid boxing match that Jake Paul is just probably going to hang on to win. But then there's the other side of me that's thinking, I honestly have no idea what the hell's going to happen. And it's not like the winner or the loser, but will Nate just be like, after the 5th round, he wins a round. Does he just celebrate like he won the fight and just leave? Like he could just do that. Like anything is possible with this fight. Will there be a brawl afterwards?
That's why it's so fun.
I was about to ask that question because the correct question isn't will there be a brawl afterwards? It's who starts the brawl after the fight? There is inevitably going to be a brawl that occurs post-fight or maybe during the fight. And it's my only question is it Jake's team? Is it Nate's team? How does it unfold? And so that has me I'm at least interested in that. Mike, we were, as you did point out though, we were talking through and answering a question basically of like, is Nate going to come back and sort of this on the ground, your vibes on the ground this week, sort of being around Nate, being around the whole thing. Does this feel like a one-off for Nate, or does it feel like Nate is Nate going to go back to the UFC after this, or is this I think Nate might have some legs in this particular avenue.
I don't think he's going to do this again. So if he basically has said like, I'm either going to go back to the UFC or I'm going to just do my own thing. So I think possibly just doing his own thing is a very reasonable thing. I think a lot of this fight isn't just a fight and getting a big bag of money. He started this new promotion like not very long ago. So this is like the first event I believe that they have co-promoted. And he even told Mark Raimondi of ESPN yesterday that he wanted to use this as kind of a learning experience, and he at least has taken away. Now I know what not to do when I'm doing a fight week and doing a promotion for a fight. And I think he just misses the well-oiled machine of the UFC. They do things a professional way. If they say the doors are open at 12, they open at 12. They don't open at 12:30. They don't open at 12:45. They open at 12. And I think Nate is just kind of misses that. Like maybe he thought like the grass would be greener, but maybe in Nate's eyes, it's not just about money. It's about just going to a fight week and feeling like everything's going to go according to plan. And he hasn't really felt that this week. So we'll see. It's either going to be the UFC. I think he ends up back in the UFC. I have no insider information, just kind of the vibe I'm getting. But I could also see him, if the UFC wants to kind of like lowball him, just being like, all right, I'll just do what the UFC does, like from a promotional perspective, but just on my own. And I'll make all of the money.
Yeah, he certainly doesn't have to go back to the UFC, but I mean, you basically said sort of where I was vibing on earlier is the UFC's put on 600 events. They know how to do this, and I think it's a lot harder than people recognize to get all of these moving parts moving. So, Casey, it is 6:00. The broadcast for UFC Nashville has started. Probably won't have the first fight up for a little bit, so let's keep going and we can fire off our predictions. Mike, you going to hang around with us for a little bit? I don't want to keep you if you have to go elsewhere, but you want to talk some Nashville?
Yeah, I'll hang for a couple minutes.
Boom. Let's talk about Nashville then, Mike. Main event, obviously a very big, exciting fight. What is the low-key banger on this fight card for you? I get to ask you this question now, Mike.
It's Jake Hadley, Cody Durden to me. There's heat on that one. Hadley's looked really good. Durden's actually looked really good since they lost to Mahayev. And, Durden kind of took this fight as a replacement. It's not like he took it in 5 days. He's had some ample time to get ready for this. But this fight is like buried on the prelims, and Jake Hadley's a guy that the UFC signed off the Contender Series after he missed weight. So they were like very excited to have him on the roster. Now he's starting to like live up to that potential, and he's the third fight on this card. You would think that
buried him way low. Yeah.
You would think that a fight with a guy that you're trying to push, especially into this market that you're trying to continue to go back to, wouldn't you want him a little higher up on the card? But I mean, I hate the card placement argument, but to me, that's the fight. I don't think anybody's, because of the card placement, I don't think anybody's really talking about it, but that fight's going to be awesome for as long as it lasts.
I did not anticipate that one coming. I would also think if you're trying to push Jake Hadley, you know, they were in London just like not that long ago, just a few weeks back. Jake Hadley in Nashville doesn't feel like it hits the same, but what do I know about fight promotion, I guess. So,
it's
Casey,
better for Cody.
Well, it is better for Cody. Is Cody the A side here? Also a Georgia boy rep.
Yes.
But is Cody the A side to this fight, we think?
The crowd's going to be rooting for him for sure. So,
well, he's definitely going to be rooting for him in Nashville. But as far as a prospect, I'm not sure. Casey, what about you? What's your low-key banger this week?
I love watching Billy Q fight, honestly. I know he got his butt whooped by Barboza last time out?
Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm just a big Billy Q. I just love the way he fights. I just kind of love his attitude. I'm still a Ronnie Barcelos fan. I know he got whooped up by Umar. I know he took a bad loss. But actually, I think there's a lot of low-key bangers.
It's an okay loss. It's okay to lose to Umar.
Yeah, but he lost bad, though. I mean, it was like, ooh, jeez. Like,
he didn't know Umar had hands. He didn't know Nurmagomedovs were allowed to punch people.
No one told him. That's BS. So, yeah, Billy Q, Barcelos, Phillips, I think it was going to be a good fight. Yeah, those are my two low-key bangers. But, honestly, I think like Klein, how do you say his name?
Bahamondes.
Yeah, I think that fight's going to be awesome. I'm kind of hoping to see the true 205 Tanner Boser come out. Didn't he lose his first 205 fight?
He sure did.
Yeah.
Ion Cutelaba.
Yeah, and
stumped him up real bad.
Yeah, and I want to see Fallout Boy Diego Lopez back in there again. So actually, I talked earlier. I'm pretty positive actually on this fight night card. I actually like it a lot as a fight night card.
There's a 5-fight stretch. Cody Durden. I want to make sure that this is actually the right. But yeah, you've got the Durden Hadley fight, Billy Q Damon Jackson, which is going to be anarchy. Jeremiah Wells, Carlston Harris, which is a very, very good fight. Honey Barcelos, Kyler Phillips is going to be anarchy. Bahamondes Ludovic Klein is going to be anarchy. Like that is a 5-fight stretch of just 97 down the middle strike zone, like just throwing heat. And people like maybe aren't super into it because the names aren't like Billy Q probably is the biggest name in that group. But all of those fights are like top 35-ish dudes in their respective weight divisions. And that's just going to that's going to be a dope stretch. That's why this is a 1-star fight card. It's a 1-star fight card because of stuff like that. Okay. Where are we at on the time? All right. We're still doing preamble stuff. So we can keep going for a little bit. Casey, do you have any more questions?
Oh, yeah.
Probably be pretty close to our last question.
Let me see what we got here.
The Bridgestone Arena. I kind of have some FOMO. I'm sort of sad I didn't go up to Nashville for this one. I've been to, I think, 2 Nashville cards previously.
Is this the same arena that the Strikeforce Brawl happened at? You know, that
might be right.
Yeah, because I was there. I was at.
That might
That's the last
be
time
right.
I was in Strike. That was the last time I was in Nashville. The Brawl.
Oh, jeez. That's also a long time ago at this point.
Yeah, it is. But you know who of course was part of the Strikeforce Brawl? Nate Diaz.
And still just coming full circle.
As he should.
Here we go.
Dana Blanco, thoughts on the estimated pay-per-view buys for Diaz-Paul business transaction? This is a great question. Mike, I want to throw it to you because I honestly have no idea.
I'm going to say, I was talking to Hawadi about this yesterday. I'm going to say 550. Some people think it's going to do better because when people saw the Spence Crawford numbers, I think they were like trending to 650, 675. Some people think that this is actually going to do better than that. I'm not so sure. But I think it does like 550. That'd be a really good night, I think, if they did 550. I think that's very possible.
I think Casey, do you have any thoughts? Because I'm working through this.
I think more people will watch this fight, but won't have as many buys. The Spence Crawford audience, they're kind of conditioned to pay for big fights. The Jake Paul audience, I don't know. It's been a little bit now. I don't know. Is the Jake Paul audience, have they been conditioned kind of to pay money to see Jake Paul versus the
sort of
way?
Sort of. So let me this, I cannot confirm these numbers. These are wiki numbers as far as pay-per-view buys, but there's probably some kernel of truth, if not the absolute. Jake Paul's pay-per-view bouts 1.5 for Paul Askren. I am decidedly skeptical of that number is true.
What 1,500,000?
Yes, I'm decidedly skeptical that the Askren. I also think that fight was $20, if memory serves. But decidedly skeptical that number. Paul Woodley, the first one, 500K. Paul Woodley 2 was 200K. Obviously, that had a lot of circumstances. Yeah. Silva was 300K according to Wikipedia, and Fury was 800K according to Wikipedia. Yeah. That's an ESPN Plus one. And so looking at these, I would not have guessed any of these numbers off the top of my head. And again, they could all be totally false. Like, I have no bait. Like, you're just going off it. But going off this, if Tommy Fury sold 800, Nate Diaz is going to crack 1 million. 550 feels low if Tommy Fury's doing 800.
If that's a real number, then yeah.
Because this is also on ESPN Plus too. Like, you can still order it.
It wasn't the Tommy Fury wasn't during daytime.
It was the afternoon.
Here?
Yeah, it was the afternoon.
Yeah, afternoon. Yeah.
On a Sunday. It was a Sunday afternoon.
I don't. Yeah, we got. I don't know. We get any confirmation of those numbers.
I mean, yeah, the numbers super could be false. But we're looking. I mean, Nate Diaz has already sold over 1 million in his 2 fights with Conor. Well over 1 million pay-per-view buys in those. Granted, Conor's doing the heavy lifting, but I'm sure his fight with Masvidal did pretty well at the box office. This wouldn't shock me at all if this cracked 1 million pay-per-view buys based on those numbers that Wikipedia is giving me for pay-per-view buys. So
this also has PFL. Not what I mean by the PFL vibes is people knew that John Jones and Francis Ngannou were going to be the same building, that one card, and that's why their numbers were like through the roof. Yeah. And I don't think there's like I don't think people are going to be like, wow, I can spend $50 to watch high level boxing between Jake Paul and Nate Diaz. I think they're just going to drop $50 to be like, yeah, I think they're going to drop $50 and be like, I don't know what the hell's going to happen. The circus is in town and I'm kind of here for it. I think it's going to be more of like, I wonder what's going to happen before, during, and after this fight actually happens.
Question.
Yeah.
And the Venn diagram of pay-per-view buyers, purchasers, whatever, how many people from, I don't know how I'm going to say this, is anyone that paid money to watch Spence Crawford paying money to watch Paul Diaz?
It's probably pretty low in the pie chart of that makeup. The composition of purchasers of Paul Diaz, ones who also bought Spence Crawford, is the give it to charity slice. Like, it's
okay.
It's very...
So would you say more people who bought 291 are going to purchase?
Undeniably, yes.
Okay. So
I would bet.
So Jake Paul.
I would bet a body part that more people will have seen 291 and Paul Diaz than Spence Crawford and Paul Diaz.
Would you agree, Mike?
Yeah.
Okay. But I mean, that's what I'm thinking too. I just kind of, there's no way to we're just kind of going on our feelings on this, or kind of.
Yeah. Also true.
But on top of it too, even the Woodley card, like because I was there for the second Woodley fight, that arena was, I mean, there was not an empty seat in that whole building, not one. And here, tickets, like, I didn't think they were going to trend very well because it just seemed like doing it in Dallas is a very strange place to host a fight like this. But
sold out.
I looked earlier. It's just about sold out. It'll sell out by the time this all is said and done. There was only like 130 tickets left, like a few hours ago.
That's wild. That is wild.
17. They've sold 17,000, almost over 17,000 tickets to this already.
I mean, like, as
Or at
much
least
as
that's
we
what they're
wanna-
saying.
Yeah, I mean, as much as you want, even if they sold 15,000, if it's 90% filled, that's still incredible for what I consider actually kind of a subpar promotion of this fight. It didn't seem to matter. The names were there. A couple of shoves, a couple of bad words said at the pressers, and then boom, arena filled. Is that all it takes now?
Yes.
Yeah, and well, it probably would have done well even without it, just because of the entities involved. Like, people, there is a certain group of people who are very interested in watching Jake Paul do anything, and similar for Nate Diaz. So that's just how it works. Like,
Yep.
good on them. They have found a way to monetize their popularity in ways they're comfortable. So I can't knock them. Chris K, is Nate Diaz the MMA's Stone Cold Steve Austin, both anti-establishment, but both want to be in the top company of their chosen field? I am not able to speak on this, but Mike, you're nodding your head as if
That's
this
a-
is true.
I like
That's a
this
good
comment.
comparison.
Yeah, I like
That's
this.
pretty good. I mean, there's video of Nate slapping Dana in the face. Like, he didn't Stone Cold stun Dana White, which would have been absolutely the funniest thing I've ever seen.
He also loves
Yeah, I get it.
to imbibe a certain mind-altering substance.
That's true.
So
And has done it in public during a promotional event, much like Stone Cold Steve Austin did with his millions of Steve Weisers. So,
and he's thrown cans. We have seen him throw cans of stuff before as well. So really,
yes,
we're
that's
just
a very
getting
good
there.
comparison. I like it. I like it a lot.
Well done, Chris K. Casey, fire one more, because I think we're about to get the first fight started. What I believe is the last commercial break. So we can do one more, and then we'll give our picks as I watch a Meg 2 commercial for the 8,000th time.
Jed, I have a question for you.
Mm-hmm.
Was there a flyweight under bet made on this card?
AK talked me into taking the under in the Ode Osborne fight, so the first fight up.
You didn't take it in the Hadley fight?
No, I didn't want to take them because the flyweight unders are dead. But AK was like, "Live a little, take it in this one." I was like, "Yeah, sure, whatever. I'll throw a fiver on it." But yeah, no, flyweight unders are dead, Mike. It's all about the Chat GPT now.
What was the Chat GPT for this one?
We're in Kennedy and Zachukwu this week for Chat GPT.
I think you're gonna cash it again.
So it's not a weird
It's
question.
nine.
But
It's 9-3 right now. It's cruising.
Yay, the
Esther
iconic
Lynn.
voice.
yeah.
The iconic voice. I told Casey I wasn't going to hop on because literally fighters are walking out right now, but just saying hello from Dallas.
Yeah, I was
Great.
messaging her
Apparently,
inside.
fighters
I
are
was
walking
trying,
out in Dallas.
Yeah, I was trying to get
prelims.
it on. Yeah.
I got to have some dinner with a wonderful group of people last night, and the iconic voice is one of them. And it was just the time of
You're
my
so
life.
lucky.
Oh, I know.
You're
She's just
so
such a joy
lucky.
to be around. I've never actually like covered a fight week, like working for MMA Fighting while like she was there, but like I just miss seeing her face, even though like I barely saw it even before. I was just like so happy to see her, and it was just a delightful dinner because Esther was there.
I haven't seen the iconic voice since UFC 236 when her and Casey came to the A. All right, we are getting the walks for Ode Osborne versus I'm going to butcher this, Asu Almabayev. Hopefully I got that right.
Yeah.
So let's hop into our predictions as we go, and then we can close it down and go watch some fist fights for the evening. First fight of the main card is Ignacio Bahamondes taking on Ludwig Klein in a lightweight bout. Mike, how you feeling?
Bahamondes decision.
Casey?
I am a big Bahamondes fan, and I'm going decision 2.
I'm going Bahamondes by third round TKO after an absolute barn burner. I think this fight's going to deliver, and we're going to get a late stoppage. Next up, light heavyweight fight, Tanner Bulldozer Bozer taking on Alexa Kamer, strong style MMA. Casey, let's start with you.
I'm just going on a gut feeling, and I'm going to go Bozer, second round KO.
Ooh, okay. It's an underdog pick. Yeah. Mike, what about you?
Bozer decision. In a very middleweighty light heavyweight fight.
All right.
Love the Bozer love. I'm taking Kamer because I don't know if I can ever trust Tanner Boser, and I shouldn't trust Kamer, but Stipe, we'll see. Just why not? I'm flipping a coin here, basically, on this one. Featherweight bout between Gavin Tucker and Diego Lopez. Casey, back to you. How you feeling?
I can't go against that hair, Lopez.
I
He's not
love
giving
the
it
hair.
up. He is not giving it up. I love it.
Mike?
I think I know I picked Lopez. I think it did third round submission though.
I am also taking Lopez by submission. I'm going first round though. Dude, he got really close to tapping or to getting Movsar in real trouble, and Gavin Tucker is not Movsar, so giving him the credit. Dustin Jacoby taking on Kennedy Nzechukwu, light heavyweight fight. I have already said ChatGPT is on Nzechukwu, and I am betting him submission in the second round. I think we're going to start seeing them submission skills. Mike?
I mean, should I howl? I don't want to steal the gimmick, but that's exactly what I picked.
Boom, Casey, what about you?
I'm going Kennedy by dominant decision.
Dominant decision, okay. Yeah. Dustin Jacoby is very durable, so that's fair. Co-main event, Jessica Andrade, former women's strawweight champion, taking on Tatiana Suarez, future women's strawweight champion, in a women's strawweight bout. I gave away the game, so I'll just lead us off. Tatiana Suarez is going to do exactly what Erin Blanchfield did to Jessica Andrade earlier this year. Second round submission. Mike, what about you?
Howl again?
We are not going to be separated by much in our Tapology picks this week. Casey, what about you?
Andrade will fight a little more conservative round one, but it doesn't matter. Suarez will get the submission in round two.
Oh, all unanimous agreement. Tatiana Suarez submission round two. I may have to get that. Your main event, Cory Sandhagen taking on Rob Font in a 140-pound catchweight bout. Mike, bring us home. What do you have for the main event?
So if the gambling genie handed me $20 and I had to pick a side based on money line, I would pick Rob Font in a heartbeat. I just think he's got a ton of value, and I think this fight should be lined closer than it is. However, that is not happening. So 50-50 pick. I think Rob's very competitive, but I think Sandhagen outlasts him and wins the decision. I think he kind of just pulls away down the stretch, wins round 4 and 5, and clinches it.
Casey, what about you?
Cory Sandhagen will prove to everyone why he should be the next title contender, and he will dominantly finish Rob Font in the second round by KO.
Dominantly finishing a second round KO. That would be an incredibly impressive prediction if it proves true. I could see it happening. I am going to take the underdog here. I think this is a very, very competitive fight. Cory Sandhagen, I get why he's the favorite. Wouldn't shock me if he wins this, particularly if it goes down basically just like Mike said. I think that's very real. But I like Font's boxing. Cory has struggled with dudes who can box real well, and Rob Font can do that. So I think we're in for 5 rounds of a super awesome fight. And I at one point in time asked the question, is Rob Font the best bantamweight in the world? And I might have been wrong, or maybe I was just early. And so I'm going to stick by my guy one more time and hope he pays me off. That is it, ladies and gentlemen. Casey, we can hit the tunes because Ode Osborne is standing outside of the cage getting his final check-in. He's going to bop in. Great top knot he's rocking for the fight. Ooh. We got 12 fights at UFC Nashville going down. We've got, I don't even know how many on the Paul Nate Diaz. I don't know what our post-show plan is. I don't know if we're doing 2 different post-shows or one grand unified post-show.
We're trying to do 2 different ones, but we'll have to see how it lines up. It's gonna be we're gonna be streaming the press conference 2 live from the Dallas, but we'll have to play by ear because it depends on timing, honestly.
So what that means is keep it locked at MMAfighting.com. And you'll find out what's happening. It's a great website. We'll tell you all the things that are going on in the fist fighting world. And we'll let you know when we're ready to go back on air again. And then you can join us for that. Until then, it's been a pleasure. Love y'all. And enjoy the fights.
Say hi to Esther for me, Mike.
Oh, I'm gonna.
Have fun.